most people never find financial freedom because they're always asking, what should I do rather than what do I want? If you're stuck right now between, oh, should I keep my high paying job or should I change to a business, a career that I enjoy more, or an investment strategy that I know will work and will make me happy, then I'm going to deliver you right now the exact framework that I use to then decide both financially and happiness wise the actual right decision, not for next week, not for next month, not for next year, not for 10 years, but actual lifetime, which is genuinely right for you, which is what exactly allowed me to find and do the thing that made me 103K solo. And also, which of course allowed me to quit that job that I said I was working and then continue to do the thing that made me 103K and do this from being 80K in the hole, burned out as fuck. And I did it all while having a six pack. So here's the basics. Just now, logically, all you need is three things. As you know, you already know you need money. And this is what most people know they need. And of course, that's obviously true. But on top of that, you also need enjoyment. Then you need health. And you absolutely need all three of these. If even one is missing, it's not going to work. Because, for example, before, when I was only chasing money, I did drop shipping and I stopped doing that dropshipping. I failed. I honestly lost money on the entire business endeavor because I hated my life. It was garbage. Like I still had a six pack at the time, but because I didn't have that enjoyment, I didn't want to continue. I didn't want to learn more about the skill. I didn't want to craft any skills, get better at dropshipping and running that business, which is what's actually going to make the money. Therefore, I didn't actually make the money. So then I was like, all right, need the enjoyment. So then at the time, I actually was kind of like into audio. I really like kind of speakers, speaker wire, and I got like some like high quality headphones and shit like that. So knowing that now I need enjoyment, I started a speaker wire company. Problem is, okay, I still had the health because I had a six pack and was working out and whatever. And then I had the enjoyment as well. But I now started just a regular e-commerce business and I was making these speaker wires by hand, trying to sell them for like $70 and buying the materials that I needed. But although it was a business, the money aspect really wasn't there because it's not a business model that is validated to work. Like nobody has a successful business making speaker wire by hand. Literally, I'm twisting the wires by hand and then selling it. Nobody. The money aspect wasn't there. Eventually, it wasn't worth my time. The business failed. It was a bad business model. So you need all three. And I know also the health aspect because in this job right here, I started to lose my six pack. I was grinding 80 hours a week at the very minimum, sleeping like maybe 4 to 6 hours. And of course, I couldn't really keep that up. And I didn't enjoy keeping that, even though I sort of liked working the job. Like I liked the info, I liked working with the clients, and the money was pretty good. So, but you might be thinking right now, holy fuck, it's insanely hard to find something that's all three. Like how many people do you know that has all three of these things? Probably maybe no one if you don't know anyone who's financially free. So the thing is here, it's actually, yes, it is hard, but it's actually a good thing because by now, filtering down your options with these three criteria, now there's a lot less things to pick from. So now you can generally pick something, you can go try it and really decide if it does meet this criteria. And if not, you move on and you try the next thing, And then once you find a thing, well, fuck, you're set. You have something that you can just pour all your time into. You enjoy pouring your time into it more than you enjoy playing video games or whatever it is that you like to do with yourself with those tissues at night. So very practically, how are you going to do this? First is you need to set some targets. What is it that you need to make in order to quit your job right now, leave whatever situation, bare minimum. So for myself, what I said here is 20K per year, bare minimum. And I want to have at least 5 years worth of savings. For you, can be completely different. You just decide how much do you need per year in order to make this sustainable, livable for whatever business. And that's essentially when you're looking for business models, you're looking for investment strategies, careers, you're looking for this number. It has to make at least that much or it is not a viable model for you. Then in the enjoyment aspect, this is simple. Well, easier said than done, but you sort of start with this. So you think, okay, what are my hobbies? What do I like to read about? What do I like to look at online? What catches my attention? Like what are things that I like to watch? That's sort of like interest stuff as your enjoyment. And there's also enjoyment from like suffering, right? You might not understand this quite yet, but the word passion is what most people look for. And actually passion comes from the Latin word like passio or some shit like that, which means suffering. So you could take this very logically and say like, oh fuck, I have to find something, a goal so great that is worth suffering for. Or you could think of it in the way that I like to think about it. It's more like you find something a past suffering that you had before. Like maybe it's you're obese and then you lost the weight. That was suffering before, but now you're good. And you can actually find enjoyment now from helping people through that suffering. So was there a problem that you had which you now have solved and you would derive enjoyment from helping other people make that transformation? So those two categories, it is interest or past suffering. And you just want to list all those things out. And then the last thing, health, it's super basic. This one, just make sure that whatever it is that you pick, whatever things on your list is not going to require over the amount of time that you know that you have. So if you know for a fact, like you're only going to have your weekends free and no other time, that's probably maybe a max of 16 hours per week that you can put in before you actually are able to quit your job. So with all these targets, you take first your list of interests and past sufferings, and then I think it's best you can either think yourself, you can Google, or I think is very also good at helping you brainstorm and kind of having a little bit like a two-way conversation to really pull out the ideas. Put it into AI, this list. Then you want to ask AI, or of course, just within your own research, you look for business models, careers, or investment strategies, whichever one that you want to look for that meet this criteria that is going to allow you to save up 5 years of savings and also eventually when you go solo, make that minimum amount of money that whatever it is that you required. And of course, it makes enough money on its own with just the amount of time that you do have. So then you know for a fact, once you're able to divide more time into it, then of course, this minimum amount of money can go increase, and that can be your like actual financial freedom. And just one more crucial aspect, instead of all these like very tactical stuff, in the health aspect, when you're picking the end business model, if it is business, like you could be doing SaaS, you could be doing service, as I mentioned, which I think is the best, or education type business, or doing like e-commerce. Like e-commerce in SaaS, sure, it might be a good option. Maybe you have a great idea, but could it start as a service? Because doing SaaS is going to have a long runway. It's going to be like a business that grows like this versus a service business you can get up fast, but then it's hard to scale. In this scenario, is probably not what you want in the beginning when you have less time. In the beginning, when you have less time, you do something that can start up fast. And then maybe later on, once you got that cash flow, you can switch to this type of model. That's the key part with the health. So that is the roadmap. Although, if you are struggling to find time to actually do the things that generate income, or you are struggling to get through this process and really not certain, not clear on what you genuinely want to work on, the mission that you want to work on, or you find yourself distracted all the time, you're a high-skilled employee, right now you're a business owner or you're an investor, and you want to be able to get some high-quality feedback, work with people, and ask people to be able to get yourself unstuck, get back on track as fast as possible, I actually do have something for you. It's a free community that I created myself for exactly that. If you're interested, it's in the top link in the description. Although now, you might be thinking, once you found something, like you have an idea, you have your mission, you've been working on it, when is the actual right time? When exactly do I make the transition and like quit the job and then actually go in? So this honestly is a more emotionally hard thing than a logically hard thing, but let me walk you through it. So for me personally, it was stay in my job right now. And I was literally just about to get promoted. I was going to be in like a lead position in my consulting analyst, equity analyst type job. And I would be making like 200K. And if I really think it out, like 10 years, I'd probably be making like $1 million. And if I think it out some more, like, oh, you know, if I don't quit right now, I could be getting that promotion. I could be making the money. I could maybe use my promotion, the titles that I'm getting to later on run my business, help as credibility. And then with the additional money, of course, I could just use that to invest in my own business. So it sounds great. I could stay. Or you take a look at B and it's like, shit, I'm going to take a huge pay cut. Like it's going to go from like 200K to 20K. And it's probably going to be like that for the next like maybe 5 or even 10 years. Although once you make that past that 5 years or make past that 10 years, you've built up more skills, like the skills that you haven't quite built up yet to actually run a business or actually do your thing of financial freedom. Like you work out all the little small things. That is when you have that sort of exponential type growth, like taking the service versus a SaaS. For the money, it's a lot faster with a job right in the beginning. And maybe you could use that for later the business. But here's the thing, in the service versus SaaS idea, you're probably going to pick the service because of this aspect. But in this other scenario, it actually might be smarter to take the other scenario because of enjoyment. So again, if we're talking money here, It's going to look something like this. And once we bring in enjoyment, now it's probably going to look like this if you stay in the job. Just flat. Not all that great, not all that bad, or whatever situation you're in, it's just status quo, kind of average. Although now once you quit your job, and sure, you have less money, but the money isn't actually what you wanted, is it? It is something that you can dedicate yourself to, you can survive on, and it's very enjoyable. So right in the beginning, once you quit, it's actually going to have a jump in like overall enjoyment in your life. And that's just only going to go up with the amount of money that you're able to generate from this enjoyable thing, because that money is sort of like a proxy for how much you're helping people. And if that act of helping more people gives you more enjoyment, the more money you make, the happier you're going to be. So plotting the two out and like looking at the area under the curve, you're overall going to have less enjoyment in this like long-term, more rational decision. And you're also going to have less money because it's eventually going to cap out at like right here. You're going to have like this chunk of money versus this, it's like that. And then the enjoyment is the exact same thing. So the smart long-term decision, which is option A here, or option B, which I call the lifetime decision. The longer you think out in time frame and you look at what is the actual total amount of pros here versus the total amount of pros and cons for each option, then you can clearly pick what is actually best for your entire life versus, if you just look at the long-term option like 10 years, the worst option for your life can look better even in the long-term time frame. And to just solidify this a little bit more, for example, you already know short-term pleasures like gooning in your basement, the decision to do that versus putting in some work. The long-term decision is always better, but the same effect goes. The longer term the decision, the better the decision, which is why the lifetime option is always better. Always choose the lifetime option if you can. The fact that you truly want it matters more than whether it makes money or not. And if you think long enough, it's going to make more money. So that is why I left my job, this job right here, literally before I got promoted. But it's just not the right decision. Now you're able to find what you want and you can pivot when it is right. Although you, of course, actually have to be consistent in working the entire time on your financial freedom on your own. Or, of course, you're going to miserably fail, forced to go back in the job, actually get money, or you're just never going to grow. And a not growing business is a dying business. If you want to know how to get consistent, and you have a problem in consistency, you can actually watch this video right here and how I specifically stay consistent the entire time, even in this job being burned out and all that stuff. The exact mental frameworks that I use to train into my brain to allow me to be as consistent as possible and build consistency over time.